Yo, what's up YouTube and Mr. Thompson's class? Today I'm with WRB News. We're going to be talking about the French Revolution. And here I'm with my co-hosts, Benjamin Craig and Ryan Bowen.
To start off with the French Revolution, we're going to be talking about some important peeps. Starting off with King Louis XVI.
King Louis was born August 23rd, 1754. He was the third son of King Louis XV and Maria Josepha. He married Marie Antoinette in 1770 at the age of 15 and became king at the age of 20 in 1774. While in power, King Louis XVI helped out America in the American Revolution to weaken the British Empire because of being salty about earlier losses in the French and Indian War. But this led to some inconveniences down the road, but we'll talk about that later.
Now that we're done talking about our good friend, King Louis XVI, now we're going to talk about his better half, Marie Antoinette.
Marie Antoinette was born on November 2nd, 1775. Her parents are Maria Theresa and Francis I. She decided to marry King Louis XVI whenever she was 14, because France and Austria wanted to strengthen their alliance. They ended up having 6 children in total, some of which were adopted, but it took them a very long time to produce children because King Louis just simply couldn't get it up.
Now on to the voice of the people, Maximilien Robespierre.
Maximilien Robespierre was born on May 6, 1758. His parents were Jacqueline Marjorie Carlot and Francois de Robespierre. He was the leading member of the Committee of Public Safety and was the voice and orchestrator of the Reign of Terror. He was the voice of the people and verbally encouraged the execution of King Louis and 17,000 others. He was killed by the Girondins, a part of the National Convention which controlled the government, and he died by the guillotine on July 28, 1794. Now on to the writer of the people, Jean-Paul Marat.
Marat was born May 24, 1743. He had malaria restricta, which caused skin infections and didn't allow him to leave his house. He was stabbed to death by Charlotte Corday on July 13, 1793. He read a newspaper named The Friend of the People and the point of view of a revolutionist against the monarchs. This paper influenced people to riot and protest against the king and queen. Corday's decision to kill Marat was stimulated not only by her revulsion at the September massacres, for which she held Marat responsible, but by her fear of an all-out civil war. She believed that Marat was threatening the Republic and that his death would end violence throughout the country. Now on to the last and shortest peep, Napoleon Bonaparte.
Napoleon Bonaparte was born August 15th, 1769, and was one of the big leaders in the French Revolution. His parents were Carlo Bonaparte and Letizia Bonaparte. He was a part of a 5-member directory who led the country to overthrow the king and the government. Napoleon Bonaparte was considered by most the savior of the French Revolution by ending it and putting in place a government that brought equality and stability to a torn country. Even though he was one of the greatest leaders and biggest leaders of the French Revolution, he was 5'7". He died May 5th, 1821.
Now for the open letter.
Aha!
Dear Maria Antoinette, did you actually say Qu'est manget de la brioche?
Qu'est manget de la brioche, also known as let them eat cake, is one of the most famous sayings from the French Revolution. It was thought to have been said by Marie Antoinette when she saw tons of broke and hungry peasants at the gates of Versailles wanting food. So she said, Qu'est manget de la brioche? Because she thought, if I can have all this and all this glory, money, and bread, why can't they just have some cake? Historians think that it's quite ironic that she said that, because cake was one of the most elaborate delicacies and expensive things that you could eat in France at the time. But it is thought to be a myth, because there is no historical data to prove that Marie Antoinette actually said, let them eat cake.
The French Revolution happened between 1789 and 1799. The French had to tax the public because they were funding America during the American Revolution, but they didn't tax the rich people. They only taxed the middle class and poor. The French declared bankruptcy in 1789 because all attempts to save the economy had failed. Hailstorms had ruined the harvest for the year, so the food prices started going up. All of the public started to turn on religion due to the Enlightenment and started putting everything into their own hands instead of into God.
At the time, there was the Estates General, which was a French super parliament with the first class of the nobles, the second class of the clergy, and the third class of everybody else. The third class decided to leave and become their own National Assembly because their voice wasn't being heard enough in the Estates General. They became their own National Assembly and met in a new tennis court, an indoor tennis court, and swore the tennis court oath, which vowed to not give up until there was a new French Constitution. During this time, King Louis XVI sent troops to Paris to stop revolutions, so in response, the people seized the Bastille prison in July 14, 1789. Everyone thought it was to free prisoners, but there was only 7 there at the time, and so they just acquired guns and ammo, and at the end of seizing the prison, the people decided to tear it all down in a painstaking process. After this, on August 4th, 1789, the National Assembly abolished feudal rights, and on August 24th, they proclaimed the Declaration of Rights of Man and Citizen that laid out that every man was created equal and that every right applied to every man.
Now we're going to talk about one of the French Revolutionary Wars. The people of France were scared that Marie Antoinette's family would try to help the royal stop the revolution, so they declared war on Austria. Austria invaded France in July 1792 and said they would destroy Paris if King Louis was not restored to power. The French ended up winning in 1802, which was led by Napoleon Bonaparte, and with that war ending, the Treaty of Amiens was signed.
After this, there was the September massacres from September 2nd to the 6th. During this time period, the people managed to kill 1,200 prisoners. After this, there was the Reign of Terror, which was a time period of mass executions from September 5th, 1793 to July 27th, 1794. During this time, the execution weapon of choice was made by Joseph Guillotine, and it was the guillotine. It was a machine with a sharp, heavy blade that would fall down and swiftly behead someone. It was very popular because of the Enlightenment era, which people would want to have a quick and painless death. The guillotine killed more than 10,000 people, including King Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette.